And I think we're live. Yes, we are.
I know. I know.
We are reviewing Revolution.
Revolution.
I've always wondered if AEW nicked that idea from the Fed because you have NXT Takeover Our Evolution, and you have that women's pay per view called Evolution.
No, I think it's AEW is a revolution
There's also the other.
from the norm.
Well, it's the first pay per view of the year, and WWE used to do the New Year's Revolution because it's like one revolution of a year. And Revolution 2020 is 1 year of AEW. And like each time they have a pay-per-view, it's like another year of the company. And they're also a revolutionary company. Anyway. Hello and welcome to our review of AEW Revolution 2024. We did our predictions last week, and you came into the show as the defending new champion because you won it at Elimination Chamber. Well done. And we wanted to see, well, was it going to be like Money in the Bank to SummerSlam where you're a transitional champion? And let me get up the points I wrote down. As it turns out, you got 9.5 points, and I got 9 points.
Mm-hmm.
So you retained by half a point.
Yeah, realistically, yeah, because the one of the main reasons why is you said Okada would be appearing on this show, and I said no.
Yeah, me upping that ante fucked everything.
Hmm.
If we hadn't done that, I would have won.
Just a question? What was your genesis?
It was the same as yours, the world title match.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the main event.
No,
But no.
no.
Thankfully, that also saved me because you lost a point.
Mm. Yeah. So if
But
I
yes,
hadn't
I
upped
actually managed to retain.
if I hadn't upped the ante on the Okada thing, I would have won the belt back.
Yeah.
That's actually ridiculous.
We both actually had. Oh, I had a very good show up until the last two matches.
Oh, I see.
Because
Oh,
I
right.
got
You mean
everything right.
in terms of predictions, right? I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Gotcha.
everything right up until the last two matches.
Yeah. But anyway, so obviously on the other side, we're in the road to WrestleMania, and WWE is white hot right now with the obviously. I mean, there are a few issues, but the Rock, Roman, Cody, Seth thing has been a very, very major feud, and there's other things going on in WWE like Drew McIntyre, CM Punk's injury, Bayley and Io Sky, stuff with Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, Judgment Day, Bloodline. There's a bunch of stuff going on, especially with WrestleMania. That is huge. So AEW has been on the back burner, and I said during the predictions that at the moment they need to do something to stand out because they haven't. I feel like since, I mean, they've done good stuff, but they have definitely felt in WWE's shadow since at least November. And I said that they needed to put out a show that people would remember to not only do honor to Sting's retirement, but also to, as a company, stand out in a time when they are not getting spotlight. And wow, Jesus Christ, I think they did that and then some. Fucking hell, this show was absolutely, like, it was one of the best pay-per-views they've ever done, in my opinion. I fucking love this.
Yeah, this show was insanely good, top to bottom.
Yep. Yep.
Really, really good show.
Yep. Maybe like the kickoff matches were all right, and then there was one match on the main card that was a bit of a mess. Everything else was gorgeous. The vast majority of this show was like match of the year, match of the year, match of the year contender, match of the year contender. Like it was all just bang, 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 bang. Holy shit! Where did this come from? But you know, it was a special night. Sting is a very well loved and respected man, especially in that locker room. And I think they all wanted to go balls to the walls for his last pay-per-view. Yeah. Honestly, hats off to them. And also the Dynamite rebrand, the new signings of Will Ospreay, Okada, and then next week seemingly Mercedes Moné. You've got the new Dynamite like look in the song and everything. They've got like a new season of the show. The actual show itself was great on Wednesday on American time. I am very happy with how the company has brought some attention to itself after a sort of a lull period of not necessarily bad stuff, because there was good stuff in there, but in terms of the spotlight, they have been very overshadowed in the last sort of 4 to 5 to 6 months. Since I would say the last time I think they really felt like they had spotlight was maybe Wrestle Dream. Because that was when WWE was doing their pay-per-views. But basically, ever since CM Punk came back to WWE at Survivor Series, WWE has been the company to watch. And they still are, in a way. But I think this show, this pay-per-view, has honestly, it's what's great about it is when you have two companies firing on all cylinders, it's great for the fans because we get to enjoy everything. So yeah, great show. That's my sort of initial thoughts. But how about you?
Yeah, I think there was this card that I think we talked about on the prediction stream. This show had a lot of potential to be like really, really good, and they actually gave it more than I thought they would. Every match, I think, was of a very high caliber. I think it was very well paced. Yeah, just and all the I would say the right results happened, as far as I'm aware.
Mm.
Yeah, just a really, really, really great show.
Yep. People are saying this is like a top 10 pay-per-view of all time. I think over time we'll look back and we'll see if it ages that way. But at the moment, it's hard to disagree with it in the sense of I can't point to many things on the show and say this is why it's not. Because even some of even if we're just talking AEW specifically, some of their best shows have a few moments on them that I don't really care for. Like All Out 2021 is a very loved show, but that has Paul White versus QT Marshall on it, which kind of sucked. But this show, like, even the weakest match I enjoyed. It was a very, very good show. And I also want to say the fact that they were able to do this when they have so many people on that roster that are out as well. You've got so many people with injuries or people who are on suspensions, and they still managed to pull this off. Think about Kenny Omega is out. Julia Hart was in the pre-show, but she can't have a singles match at the moment because she's injured. Who else is injured? Bloody, like I keep forgetting. There's so many. Sammy Guevara is suspended. Jack Perry's in New Japan, probably for the better, to be honest. Currently injured wrestlers. I think I usually have it on Fightful. Let's have a look. So WWE, that's NXT, that's continue. AEW. So obviously Adam Cole is injured, Bandito's injured, Britt Baker is injured, Jamie Hayter is injured, Jeff Hardy's injured, Juice Robinson's injured, Keith Lee is out for health reasons, Kenny Omega's out for health reasons, Cody Ibushi's injured, Mark Davis, MJF, Ray Phoenix, Roosh, Sammy Guevara, Scorpius Sky, Stu Grayson, Wheeler Yuta. Like, there's a lot of people out injured or suspended, and yeah, it's despite that. And also, Edge wasn't injured, but he just wasn't on the show. But they didn't even need him on the show. They just took him off the show until Dynamite. Just Adam Copeland. So, yeah, they had a lot going against them in that regard, but despite that, they still managed to pull it off. The other thing I would like to say is, I always say this about pay-per-views because I always want to promote this side of it. I always say, have a nice stage, and they did have a nice stage, so good. The only thing about the presentation that pissed me off is that crowd had 16,000 people and they didn't show you. They didn't actually use the cameras and the lighting to show you. And that is something that WWE would do, is they would show you the full scale of the crowd. 16,000 is nothing to laugh about. That's a big arena. I think they said it's their second biggest arena show since the first Grand Slam. That's the other one. So they really should have done that. They really should have used the camera work and the lighting to show off how many people were there. That's my one sort of big nitpick with the presentation. But yeah, anything else you want to say before we start dissecting it?
This is probably going to be one of the shows of the year, I'd imagine.
Yeah, they said it before going in, and then they actually delivered. I remember when Tony Khan said a few days before, he's like, oh, this is going to be pay-per-view of the year. I'm like, don't say that. Don't say that before the show. You're just setting people up to, like, scrutinize it. And then they actually did it.
Yeah, props to them. They delivered quite the show.
Yep. So I guess we should start with the 0 hour.
I guess we should. That was the beginning of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have to say, I thought Nigel McGuinness was great, as always, but he was particularly good on this show.
He's always great.
Yep. Now, we had this. What was interesting about this first match was in the predictions, I was talking about how much of a disappointment it is to have Jay White on the pre-show against, the Jeff Jarrett faction, and with the whole Bang Bang Scissor Gang. The match itself, I don't have a lot to say. It was fine. It was a fine TV match. But there were details about this match, promo-wise, like character-wise, that I really liked. Firstly, I noticed they've started doing a thing now where Max Caster is botching his raps on, like, it's like an actual storyline.
They've turned it into an actual storyline rather than it being for shoot.
Yeah. Which is interesting, and like I loved the reaction, like Jeff Jarrett and all the other people behind him were laughing their asses off when he fucked up. The other thing I really liked was Jay White's promo after the match. It was almost like him making a statement about him going forward. What I really like about Jay White, he did this a bit in Bullet Club Gold, but he's doing it even more now, is when he cuts his promos, all the other guys are off in the background on the other side of the ring. And when Jay White is on the microphone, he goes right up to the camera away from them to really demonstrate, hey, don't forget, I am my own man separate of these guys behind me. Which is a nice detail. The other thing is that the promo he cut was really good too, and I love the way he sort of like leant on the turnbuckle and talked directly to you. And he's going to have a match with Darby Allin on Big Business, which should give him more highlighted singles time before Darby Allin goes to Mount Everest. Oh boy.
Yeah.
But apart from that, yeah, this was fine match. I don't have much to say about it, to be honest. What are your thoughts?
Me either. It's a standard pre-show tag match.
Yep.
really what else you could say about it.
Yep, just sort of warmed up the crowd and gave Jay White some time to cut a promo, which, in fairness, that is nice that they did that. Because I actually think maybe Tony Khan realized that people were really upset about Jay White being not featured since Full Gear, outside of the Continental Classic, I guess, but in the last month or two or three, Jay White's taken a backseat, and I think Tony Khan has realized that the fans want to see him in main events. So it was good that he got that promo, and now he's getting this match on Dynamite.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said on the predictions, the Bang Bang Scissor Gang needs to end soon. And
yes, please.
They just, I think I
feel like Jay proved that even more with his promo.
Yeah, if Jay White's not having a singles match at Dynasty, then they need to do the trios, like combine the titles match with Acclaimed versus Bullet Club Gold. I think that's the move, and then that can sort of end that story.
Ideally, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, Jay White's promo was good. And then after we had a bit of a thing with Orange Cassidy, talking about how he didn't want the best friends out there with him because he wants to fight his own battles. Of course, that was a curse for him later in the show, which we'll get to, but it was a nice detail that they added. And then we had a video package for the return of the Bastard Pack. This was awesome.
Yes.
Saying, cool. I nearly died, lad. And he's come back from the dead, basically, and that led to a thing on Collision with him and Okada, which was fucking awesome. I'm so happy he's back. And I cannot wait to see Okada and Pac have a singles match.
Cool indeed.
Yeah. Pac's I think it's because of the visa thing. Pac is one of those guys who you always forget is in AEW, but when he turns up, you're like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deserves a lot more.
Yeah. He really does. He was one of their main featured stars, like back when AEW started, before the pandemic.
Yeah.
But yeah, this video package was awesome. I always hated the criticism he got in WWE. They're saying like, oh, he's a great wrestler, but he can't cut promos. When he very clearly can, they just didn't let him. Yeah. So it was great to see David Crockett there. Obviously, big history with Sting, with Greensboro Coliseum and everything. This used to be like the home arena for Jim Crockett Promotions. There were lots of people in the crowd with Sting face paint or Sting masks on. That was great to see. And then we got the women's tag match. They're doing an interesting storyline where you got the babyface tag team of Statlander and Willow with a heel manager, Stokely. It's quite fascinating, actually. Almost like, how do I even describe this? It's. I don't think I've really ever seen anything like this before. Where it's like they feel like they're friends with them, but it feels like Stokely's almost using them. Because there's on this show, it worked fine for them, but when it came to TV, Stokely kind of screwed Statlander because she lost her match.
Yeah.
Against Riho. So yeah, I'm interested to see where this goes, to be honest. Having a heel manager with two baby faces. They were against Sky Blue, the TBS champion who's injured, and sorry, I should say Julia Hart, the TBS champion who's injured, and Sky Blue. As always, Julia Hart's entrance is top tier. She's one of the best entrances.
Cool. Always very cool.
Yeah. She's one of the best entrances in the business, I think. I love the way that Sky Blue blends in with her entrance once she's come out. Yeah, the lighting, the wind, everything.
Very good presentation.
Awesome. Yeah. And in terms of the match, yeah, again, pre-show match, it was fine. There was
yeah.
there was a few little clunky moments. This was probably the worst match of the night, I think. Maybe.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. But Stokely Hathaway on commentary definitely, I think, helped carry it, the story that they're telling. But I'm much more interested what they did on TV than what they did here. I think the stuff they did on Dynamite was more interesting than what they did on the pre-show. The match was also very short as well.
Oh yeah, quite short.
Yep. So yeah, the pre-show was fine and it had a really good Jay White promo and a really good pack video package, and that's kind of what I have to say about it.
Yeah, pretty much sums up.
Yep. So I guess we should start on the main card then.
Yes, I said so. Yeah, say so.
Another 4 hours of wrestling to get through, so let's crack
boy.
into it. Most AEW shows go 3:55, but Sting's promo at the end carried them all the way to the very last minute. And they even went overtime online. But yes, they started the show with the Sting video package, awesome stuff. And then we opened the show with the TNT Championship match, Daniel Garcia versus Christian Cage. Obviously, another You Have a Dead Father feud. Daniel Garcia on his slow, star-building babyface run. And slowly breaking away from the supervision of Matt Menard. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on this match?
I thought this was a really good opener. Thought it was a really great way of starting off the show. A lot about this match was just really fun to watch, and Christian Cage right now is just... I don't think there's anything you can do that isn't entertaining at the moment.
It was
His gimmick is just so good.
Yeah, and his performances are impeccable. He's he is that character. Like, he's become that character.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's nothing like in wrestling when you actually feel like the person and the character are just... there's no pretending. It feels like they can just be that person with effortlessly.
Yeah. A great moment in the match was when Christian faked an injury, but then Garcia actually targeted it, and then it actually was hurting really badly throughout the match. I thought it was a really, really cool little story throughout the match.
Yeah, it was Christian Cage trying to be a smart heel by luring him in, but then eventually getting bitten on the ass for it.
Yeah.
I love a spot that never gets old for me is when the babyface pulls Christian's turtleneck over his head and then beats him up.
It's always good.
Christian's whole sort of act with Mother Wayne, Kill Switch, and Nick Wayne is just... it's so funny, the patriarchy.
Very good.
Something that I think, actually, something that AEW has done very well over the time they've been on in wrestling is having a big star surrounded by people that all get over at the same time because they're all together in one act. This is an example of it, but there's also another example of that later in the show, which we'll talk about, which is also a great act with multiple people in it getting over. I think in the past, another thing, having Jamie Hayter align with Britt Baker really helped her get over too, and now Jamie Hayter feels like she's actually become almost a bigger star than Baker herself. So, yeah, it's great when you have situations like that, when you can put people with a big star and you can help them all get over and stay over in the process. This match had great psychology. It was very smartly thought out, as most Christian Cage matches are. Obviously, Garcia's an amazing athlete and he's really come a long way that time in the Jericho Appreciation Society allowed him to learn how to entertain a crowd. Because, the sports entertainment thing was done for a laugh, but he actually genuinely learned that side of the business during that period of time. And he's becoming a more well-rounded performer at such a young age. I love how Daniel Garcia he's rejecting the whole thing of him being a wrestler, and his attires are just getting more and more ridiculous. Like he's become like a glamorous, sparkly pants with like long dance over his shoes and stuff. Like it's hilarious. He's got like it's like pink alligator rainbow with like a like it's I don't even know how to describe it. It's just hilarious how he just keeps on going against that grain. But yeah, this was a really good opener. Garcia is massively over. Christian Cage is a legend. Commentary was great. I always love when Nigel McGuinness calls Christian the DILF of the year. It's just fucking hilarious.
Very funny.
Nigel McGuinness has replaced William Regal for like horny British commentator in AEW. Oh, man in the mask, you saucy little muffin. When Daniel Garcia caught Christian Cage's headbutt into the ankle lock, it reminded me of Angle vs. Taker No Way Out that we watched. That's on the channel. That match is reverse everything into the ankle lock. That's basically how I would describe it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And actually, Daniel Garcia versus Prime Kurt Angle would have been an amazing match.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. But yeah, so there was a great near fall where Garcia rolled up Christian Cage and he put his hand under the rope and Aubrey only just saw it. And then, of course, Mother Wayne distraction. Nick Wayne does the cutter on the top rope. Christian Cage hits the kill switch and retains his title. Probably as he should. His run is still great. And Christian Cage beats another person that has a dead dad. So yeah, really good opener. They didn't go too far because they didn't want to exhaust the show before it really got started. But yeah, it was a very solid opener. Told a good story. The guys in the match were great. Everyone on the outside did their job well. Yeah, really good stuff. Hats off. Thumbs up.
Absolutely. Yeah, thumbs up for me, yep.
Yep. And then, after that, we got Eddie Kingston versus Bryan Danielson for the Continental Crown. This is the first classic of the night. And there were many classic matches on the show. I feel like this was the first one where I was like, holy shit, this is a match of the year contender. I fucking loved the absolute shit out of this match. Not only in ring athletically, but the story they told of Bryan never respected Eddie Kingston and Eddie had to prove it to him. The prestige of Ring of Honor, New Japan, and AEW all within the match as, you know, the Triple Crown. Eddie, Bryan, two of the best. Oh, yeah. You tell me what you thought.
Yeah, this match was bloody good. What I really liked, I really enjoyed the pre-match promo from the interviewer before each of the entrances. I thought that was really cool presentation-wise. Thought that was very unique. Yeah, this match overall was just, it was so good. I completely agree. They told a really great story, and I think Eddie was definitely right for winning this match. And yeah, I'm looking forward for what they're doing with Eddie next, because bloody hell, he's on a really good run in terms of matches.
Yeah, ever since the Continent. I mean, in that sort of lull period when AEW was being overshone by WWE, Eddie Kingston was one of the shining lights that was really, really doing great stuff with the Continental Classic. But yeah, this match was all about respect. It was a Japanese-style martial arts fight. There was stiff striking, and these two have had a long feud ever since Bryan came into AEW in the last 2.5 years. And this was the match, even though Eddie has won in the Continental Classic, this was the match where Eddie properly, finally gained Bryan Danielson's respect. They actually showed Eddie finally had learned, he'd finally found the way to beat him. And you could tell throughout the match that Bryan Danielson was telling the story of, holy shit, this guy actually has my number. And he actually had to try and fight for his life to win. And he actually lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly could not be happier with how they did this. This was brutal. It was hard-hitting. The story, the characters. That suplex, that sort of like suplex on the floor, when they did that, Nigel McGuinness made a great call where he said Bryan Danielson made sure to crouch down so that he would take the least impact on his back while going to the floor. It's stuff like that, like great psychology within matches that I really appreciate, like that attention to detail.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is always so great.
And yeah, they did some great submissions, great striking, and Eddie just refused to quit. And yeah, and also the slap off as well. That was that was great. And then yeah, at the end of the match, after Eddie won, they did a great thing where the camera work was really good in this as well, showing the belts on the floor. But they bowed to each other, and then Bryan put out his hand. Eddie went to shake it. Bryan pulled back. Eddie was like, "Nah, God, you're not going to shake my hand. Screw you." And Bryan turned him around and said, "Hey, nah." And he shook his hand. And they did a great thing online on social media after the match of them in the locker room. Well, I guess it would be more in like the doctor's room getting repaired. And they had like a really heartfelt, respectful moment with each other. It was just such a great story that they capped off that's been so long running since the Ring of Honor days. And the fact that the Code of Honor all being about the handshake being the centerpiece of their rivalry, it just, yeah, it was awesome. I loved it.
Super cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
This was just very hard hitting, I think. These two are just so good.
Yeah. And in Bryan Danielson's last year as a full-time performer, putting over Eddie this strong was great.
100%. 100%.
Yep. Then after this, we had what was going to be the Meat Madness match, but ended up being the Scramble match for a #1 contendership for the world title at Big Business. We had a bunch of guys in this match. Let me just look it up again. We had Chris Jericho, Wardlow, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, Hook, Brian Cage, Magnus, and Dante Martin. I noticed with this match, they did a section where they threw all the small guys out and did a big meet off, and then they threw the big guys out and did the opposite. And they did like all the small guys doing a meet off.
That's fun.
Yeah. I thought this was a fun match. Probably my least favorite on the main card. I think it was just a bit sloppy. But
yeah, it also just wasn't when there's 8 people in the ring and it's not as free flowing as a lot of pretty much all the other matches were. Yeah, it's
But the best thing
a
about
lot more of a showcase match.
The best thing about it is they did the right result. They had Wardlow win, which is what we needed.
Yeah, it was a correct result.
And yeah, and also I think as much as the Undisputed Kingdom has had its issues, having Adam Cole be like endorsing Wardlow as a star is actually really good for his standing within the company.
Yes.
In terms of presentation.
Yeah,
yeah,
he was the rightful winner.
Yeah.
I don't think it should have gone to anybody else.
And
also Jericho was there.
Yeah, also Jericho. Interestingly, this is a bit of a breath of fresh air having Jericho in, a showcase match as opposed to a singles match or a tag match. I think on this show, if you were going to have Jericho in a match, I think this was the right choice because he doesn't really have anything going for him at the moment. I personally think, but if it were up to me, I know he loves to wrestle, but just go on a Fozzy tour, go away for a couple of months, do something else, and then come back when you actually have a good story. And he's like, is Chris Jericho the most stale guy in AEW right now?
Oh, by quite a distance.
Yeah.
Before it was the Young Bucks, and now they've changed their characters, and
Oh,
it's
they've done a
interesting.
180. They've done a 180.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been
Fucking weird,
teasing
man.
a Jericho Wardlow feud, and I don't want that.
No one wants it. No one wants it. I don't want it.
You know, it's like people. I've heard Wrestle Talk say like on when there's a babyface that has nothing to do on SmackDown, they throw them into the Carrying Cross vortex. I feel like in AEW, Chris Jericho is the same. Like when they've got
Yeah, the Jericho Vortex.
yeah, when they've got a heel with nothing to do, they throw him into the Jericho vortex.
Definitely don't want to be in that.
Yeah, and it's
'Cause then
annoying
you're stuck in there
because
for months.
it's annoying because Jericho, like in his prime, is one of my goats. Like I had him in my top 25 on the, on the Christmas thing we did. Because in his prime, he was genuinely that good, but it's just now, it's so far his expiry date that I just don't care.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that, obviously, I think Karrion Kross is really underutilized. He's a great promo. He can do unique, shoot style matches. He's great with, storytelling detail. He can, in NXT, his presentation was impeccable during the pandemic. Like, yeah, there's frustrating elements to that, booking wise. But anyway, this was a fun mess of a match, and the right person won. And that's
Agreed.
kind of all I had to say. I think the biggest shame of this pay per view is the fact that CMLL just couldn't really be on it outside of Magnus.
Yeah. I think though this yeah, I think it's just the right winner, fun match. Completely makes sense.
Yeah, I'm hoping that um, I'm hoping that when we get to like Forbidden Door, the CMLL visa thing has fixed itself, so we can have like a big sort of New Japan AEW CMLL like cross promotion show, because I think that could be really fun. Like mixing AEW with Japan and Lucha Libre as well could be really interesting.
Mm.
I believe I can't remember her name, but one of the women's wrestlers from CMLL beat Julia for the Stardom title. I think it was. I think I saw some. I can't remember exactly the details, but yeah, could be interesting. Um, yeah. Let me just skip forward a bit. Obviously, the other thing I want to mention is Powerhouse Hobbs' entrance is always great to see. And then, yeah, Wardlow won. And then after that, we got, for the international title, we got Roderick Strong versus Orange Cassidy. And Roddy Strong won the match, which we both predicted, and I think it was a good result. Orange Cassidy needs something new, and Roderick Strong now has something new. And Roddy Strong, for the last sort of, ever since he came to AEW, especially with his heel turn, he's had a really good run for the most part, especially during the Adam Cole MJF feud, playing the, third wheel. He's become an insufferable prick. But on top of that, he's also a great back-breaking chiropractor wrestler. And they were telling a story, and the commentators were reminding you, and also with the injury tape, that Orange Cassidy's ribs in his back are fucked. So Roderick Strong had an advantage. Yeah, I thought this was a good match. I really enjoyed it.
Very good.
Yeah, lots of, back-breaking psychology. The Undisputed Kingdom now actually has some things to brag about.
Finally.
Yep. But for me, the most newsworthy thing about this match was the return of Kyle O'Reilly.
I think for me, this was probably pop of the night for me in terms of my reaction.
I thought it was a fan at first because I didn't recognize him with his long hair.
No, as soon as I saw a glimpse of him, I knew who it was.
Mm. As soon as I saw his face, yeah, I could recognize it because it was the same face he pulled when he debuted in AEW.
Because I saw him jump over the barricade um, just before yes, he's on screen, and like people are reacting as soon as they see him, and then shown on camera, he does the lift behind, rises up. Oh,
It was the same thing
so
he did.
good.
It was the exact same face he did when he debuted in AEW and joined Adam Cole and Bobby Fish.
Who did he attack in that?
I think it was. Oh, who was
Was
Adam
it
Cole?
Orange Cassidy?
Yeah, I think it was Orange Cassidy. He was feuding with Orange Cassidy at the time.
That's quite funny. If
Yeah.
that is the case.
Yeah.
So awesome to see him.
Yeah.
So happy.
There was a lot of mix of emotions going on because at first he came up from behind Roddy and he had that look, and then he changed his look when Roddy turned around. Roddy offered him to join the kingdom. He whispered something in his ear, and he walked out the ring. And then the fans gave O'Reilly a massive ovation, and you could see he was genuinely really emotional.
It
about
meant
it.
a lot to him, obviously.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so happy he's back. It's like I've wanted this for like 2 years now.
You know.
It just makes me think, how recently has he been cleared? Because it means we were pretty much 2 months off him actually probably being the devil, and that would have just fixed everything.
Yeah, that's a good point actually.
That's what I thought. It's like if it's like a very recent thing, like, man, he's off by 2 months where he was the perfect pick to be the devil.
Yeah, see, this return was really cool, but if he had returned at World's End, that would have been like one of the best ever,
fucking
ever,
hell, that
ever,
would've been
ever,
so good.
ever in AEW, dude. That would have been an all timer.
Yeah.
If he had taken the mask off and it was O'Reilly with long hair as the devil, Jesus.
So yeah, obviously, I hope this run as him as, I guess he will be a face for at least a while.
Yeah.
Because the only way you turn him heel, it was if you reveal him as the devil. Because I don't think turning him heel, coming back just straight up from injury as he is like he did,
The thing
will
is
work.
with that is
yeah.
that MJF is going to be out for a very long time. He had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
But I am very interested to see when O'Reilly and Adam Cole get in a promo with each other, what happens. They got a lot of history.
Really hope O'Reilly gets a good run, really, because I think unfortunately his original run, as much as he had some really great matches, it wasn't as good as it probably could have been, and it should have been a lot better.
It started to get amazing towards the end of it when he started going into singles matches like the Owen Hart Cup. He had the matches with Ray Phoenix and Darby Allin. Those were like genuinely some of the best matches of 2022. That match, Darby Allin versus Kyle O'Reilly from Double or Nothing, like stole the show. That was a fucking awesome match. And yeah, and then he got injured.
Good.
He got injured right as he was about to hit like the hottest run of his AEW career so far, and it sucked. And then, just when you thought the show couldn't get any more awesome, fucking Moxley and Claudio came out with the Road Warriors gear on their shoulders, and it was amazing. It was awesome.
This fucking ruled.
Yep, this was an old school Mid-Atlantic NWA tag team match. This was Claudio and Mox as the Road Warriors against FTR as the Midnight Express. So it was basically Road Warriors versus Midnight Express in Greensboro, which is great because that's from like Sting's era. This match was this was honestly incredible. This match, I loved the shit out of it. Dax Harwood's selling, his bleeding. It was just. I'm actually lost for words, to be honest. Do you want to start with this tag match?
This was just so cool. Just a great FTR style match, and Moxley and Claudio are perfect tag team for this kind of match, and as heels, as they worked. Yeah, this match was crazy from start to finish, and it was one of my favorite matches of the night, easily.
Yeah, this was really a love this was like a love letter to 80s tag team wrestling. when it was, at its peak of its sort of golden era. But done with like modern athleticism, modern psychology in like a big, presentation. It was just, I loved everything about it.
Absolutely.
Like
So
Dax
good.
Dax Harwood absolutely had the shit beaten out of him in this match. Like he was wrecked. He was absolutely wrecked. And I think you mentioned about Mox and Claudio being a perfect tag team. I think the reason why is because they are the perfect marriage of two very different styles. Because Mox is the wild animal, he is the rough and rugged brawler, and Claudio is the perfectly fine-tuned athletic specimen. And when you have the two of them together, combining those two elements together, you just get everything you really need. Against FTR, who is personally is probably my favorite tag team of all time. I just love FTR.
Oh yes, definitely.
That fucking running up the ropes, Road Warriors. What was it? What's it called again? The Doomsday Device with the uppercut to Dax was insane. Yeah. And it was just like when they had them all choked out, and then like after the choking out, like FTR was in the ropes, Blackpool was in the ring, they were eyeing each other up. It was just the most epic thing. The crowd was, yeah, crowd was white hot. Dax was covered in blood. It was just a brilliant match. No real like stakes or anything, but it was a rematch from their time limit draw from Dynamite, and they absolutely delivered. I love this match. This was like another match on the card that's like, oh, this could be like a match of the year contender. It was just so awesome. And yeah, by this point, we're halfway in the show. We've got the entire second half, which is also great. Any final thoughts on the tag match?
Just it's fucking awesome, and you should
Yeah,
definitely go out and watch it. It's just classic 5-star FTR match.
yeah. And then in a change of pace, we go from all in ring, all brutality to story narrative with Timeless Tony Storm versus Deonna Purrazzo for the AEW Women's World Championship. I mentioned earlier in the pay per view about an act with a big star surrounded by people that are going to get over with you. I fucking love this act with Tony Storm, Mariah May, and Luther. They are just this amazing trio of people that all bounce off each other in ways, and also the conflict between Mariah and Luther as well. Sort of like they both want Tony Storm's affection. Luther being the butler, Mariah May being the fan. This match had one of my one of my biggest pops of the night was when Mariah May came out with Tony Storm's old gear and old music.
So good.
And
so
in
good.
terms of the story, this is the Tony Storm that Deonna Purrazzo lived with and was best friends with. So it was like a kick to the, well, I was going to say kick to the balls, but I guess it would be kick to something else. But it was, it was the crushing blow for Deonna, because that was the person that she loved as a friend. So Mariah came out as the fangirl who is the cosplayer of Tony Storm with her music and with her gear. Pulled down the sunglasses. She just rocks that look. She looks so identical in a lot of ways. And then Timeless Tony Storm came out. So yeah, that was just an amazing little twist they did at the start. And obviously Tony Storm is absolutely hilarious, as always.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah. Tinchits Shoe. Was it on on Collision after Mariah's match with Trish Adora? She gives her the Tony Award with an eye, just so we don't get sued.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, yeah. She gave her the award, and then they gave Deonna the award for being the most insufferable tramp from New Jersey.
Oh my god!
So yeah, finally, after a lot of time of being neglected, Mariah May's finally getting the affection of her idol. She got the award for
really.
being the best Tony Storm. But yeah, yeah. How'd you feel about this match?
Thought the match was fine. I think the biggest issue that they're having with this gimmick is that it's not translating as well as it could to the matches.
Yeah, because
And
she's
it's
changed
funny
her in ring
because
style. She's changed her in ring style for this character.
this story has had a lot of heat for it. How Tony Storm got a tattoo alteration for this
Yeah,
match. So unfortunately, I think the heat just isn't there at the moment. The gimmick is very entertaining and it's great and should carry on with it. I think they need to just work out the tweaks to sort of just make this work properly in matches.
yeah. Do you think maybe it's because the style of wrestling she's going for is really a product of its time? Do you think maybe, or do you think there's a way you can alter it to make it work better?
I think there are ways you can alter it.
Hmm.
They just need to figure out what.
Yeah. But I think that said, I think the story and the characters really carried it. That for me is what I guess. And also the other thing I'll say is like one of the things they do with Timeless Tony Storm is when she's in a spot of desperation, and they did a little bit of this in the match, especially towards the end, is when she's actually like needs to win and could lose if she doesn't do something. She'll pull out bits of her old character, like the real Tony Storm, and it kind of hints at you that yeah, this is all a facade. She's putting this on for herself, but the real Tony Storm is still within there, and sometimes she shows it in moments of desperation.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that if eventually they have her feud with Mercedes, that they figure out how to configure the in-ring style. Because I think Tony Storm and Mercedes could have an amazing match if they do it right. But yeah, this was definitely more about the characters than the actual wrestling itself. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that Tony and Deanna will have a rematch, and they'll do more stuff in ring. Probably at Dynasty, if I had to guess.
Yeah, most likely.
And maybe give them a bit more time. Yeah. But yeah, despite the fact that the in-ring stuff wasn't that impressive, I'd still give it a thumbs up because the character work was awesome, especially with the entrances. And then after that, we got like one of the best matches I've ever seen in AEW's history, I think, which was Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, fucking hell.
One thing I'll say before this match, one thing I found very funny, Don Callis said, and has repeatedly said, this is going to be a match of the year contender. And Tony Schiavone said, he said something to the fact that, well, it hasn't happened yet, so how could you say that? It's like, Tony, you have to agree with Don Callis here. It's Will Ospreay and Takeshita.
Yeah. Two of the best.
Very easily going to be the best match of the show.
They are two of the best athletes in wrestling today.
Ospreay especially, he is just on another level right now.
Yeah, he's arguably number one in ring.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are a few others you could say potentially rival him, but there are things that there are like with Kenny Omega, not only age but also his injuries and his illness has unfortunately set him back steps. But like Kenny during prime New Japan mid 2010s, I think rivals this Will Ospreay. But that's the highest of compliments. But yeah, in terms of just right now, Will Ospreay is arguably number one in the ring in the world. Takeshita is not far behind him. That guy is just... The thing that people forget about these guys is they're really tall and they're really big.
Yeah.
And they hit really hard.
Very hard. The whole elbow exchange blows was like, bloody hell.
But yeah, this was an absolute masterpiece of a match. This
the
was
sprint to the finish and pin was like literally insane.
Yeah. For me, this was match of the night and possibly match of the year so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard to top this one, I think. I definitely think they can, but it's going to be hard to top this. This was
gonna be
Jesus
very
Christ.
hard.
Oh.
So good.
Yeah. There was some real ouch moments in this match, like when Will Ospreay got brainbusted. Takeshita brainbusted his ass on the top rope, and Will Ospreay said it's the most pain he's ever felt in his life.
You could tell.
Yeah. I think there was a thing of like, I think they were talking about in commentary about how like Takeshita has done an actual thesis at university on a German suplex or whatever it was. He did like a full on paper on it, and he hit a German suplex in this match, and it was like Don Callis is like, that may be one of the best German suplexes I've ever seen. It was actually picture perfect the way he did it. But the execution was all crisp. It was all perfect. The storytelling, the characters, the emotion on their faces, the athleticism, the length of time, the pacing. Yeah, even the refereeing was really good in this one too. Like I thought that Bryce Remsburg did a really good job in this. There was that one moment when Takeshita got hit really hard in the head, and he went to the ground, and he like started to like contort his hands, and it was almost looking like he was having like a seizure or something. It was really like frightening to look at. That was just insane selling. And then he continued the match. Some of the kickouts as well were insane, like when Ospreay would just slightly move his shoulder blade off the mat, like really slowly. It was frightening. The sequence I think everyone's talked about in sort of like near the sort of the bridge of the match, I would say. You can just slowly find it. Here it is. So Ospreay goes a kick in the head, goes for a suplex. Takeshita reverses it, folds it. Ospreay hits a stunner. Then I think he goes for the reverse Frankensteiner, and then picks him up, goes for what's that movie does where he pulls him up on the side? The finisher? I can't remember what it's called. But Takeshita rolls out of it, pulls him around, ropes him, does a pile driver, and then pulls him up, does another German. Ospreay kips up, hits the hidden blade, goes for a pin, kick out. Fucking insane. That whole sequence was unreal.
Yeah, it's just fucking hell. This match was like so crazy from start to finish. Like,
it was so good. It felt like a choreographed fight scene from like a martial arts movie, but it was live. Like it was live and
much
real. And then, that moment, dude, when Ospreay caught Takeshita's knee, hit a powerbomb, then pulled him up and did a Styles Clash that got a huge pop. Absolutely massive pop. And then Ospreay pulled his arms up and did the Tiger Driver and dumped him on his neck, and it was disgusting and brutal. As it always is. I mean, the most frightening one was the one he did to Kenny Omega at Forbidden Door. That one was just surgically disgusting. Hits the hidden blade, and then gets the pin. And Takeshita kicks out after the 3 to say, I still had the fight left in me. Yeah. This was fucking incredible. One of the best matches I've seen of, like, the last 5 years. I loved it. And Don Callis on commentary just topped it off as well. Because you can tell that Takeshita's his boy, because Takeshita's the heel, but he still was praising Ospreay because he's one of his investments. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What a match! Fucking hell, what a match!
Yeah.
Ospreay's gonna be a very big deal this next year.
Yeah, and he had a fucking massive lump on his ass, and it looked horrible.
It looked very nasty.
Yeah. And then Kyle Fletcher returned with a new blonde haircut and a black suit. And Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher had a match on Dynamite, and that was also awesome. That was a great match too. It's interesting how they're having Ospreay feud with his own faction, but without them being in a feud with each other. Like, they're not at odds, they're just doing it out of respect. It's very interesting. But yeah, great to see Kyle Fletcher back. He's another young star that's very much under Ospreay's wing. He's going to become huge in the future.
Damn straight.
And also, I think another thing, and also the other thing is that Takeshita and Ospreay, they bowed to each other at the end as well, which was great. Sign of Japanese respect. Yeah, fascinating stuff. Love the match, love the characters. Ospreay is one of the best in the world. I can't wait to see him at Wembley Stadium in his home country again, like he was last year, but this time actually under the AEW banner, not against Chris Jericho. But yeah, and also, how could I forget this? We're getting Will Ospreay vs Bryan Danielson at Dynasty.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. Very
good. Yeah, that match is gonna rule.
Gonna be very good. Gonna be very good.
Yeah, so hats off to them. And then after that incredible match, you're like, well, how can the show continue after this? It's hit its peak. They had the AEW World Championship triple threat match with Samoa Joe, Hangman Adam Page, and Swerve Strickland. And Swerve got the awesome entrance with the dancers again and Prince Nana. They recently have done a double turn. Swerve's gone babyface. He's sort of a tweener because he's still edgy, but he's sort of leaning more babyface now because he's super over, and Hangman's gone mega heel, and Joe's, badass heel. Swerve came out with a huge fur hood, which looked awesome. That's another guy who's one of my favorites in AEW right now, is Swerve. He's just on an absolute roll. He's a megastar. Great entrance, great character, great promos, great matches, everything about him. He's just the whole package. He always has like some of the best attires as well. I love his attires.
Yeah.
But they told an amazing story in this match with Swerve, where it was like this was the night for him to win, and when he lost, he had a breakdown at the end, like an actual emotional breakdown. And he got screwed because Hangman lost the match so that he couldn't win it, which was an amazing story they told, because Hangman has so much beef over Swerve, but also in a way Hangman's heel turn has justification because Swerve broke into his house and messed with his child. So there's like a complex moral grey area between them, and Hangman feels betrayed by the fans for booing him even though he felt like he was in the right. So he's not holding back anymore. And then of course you got Joe, the badass champion monster. Interestingly, talking about triple threat matches, on a video coming up on this channel where we've already filmed it, is the TNA triple threat match with Joe, Styles, and Daniels. This match, like that one, had another spot with the Kikina Clutch spiral tap, which was great to see. So I love that detail. But yeah, I thought they told a great story, and I thought they had a great little triple threat match. What was your thoughts?
I think that Hangman Adam Page is doing the work of his life right now.
Yep.
This heel turn has been a masterstroke, and I honestly, a Hangman Page heel turn a couple months ago, I didn't think would be ever be possible, and they've made it work so well. And in
2021,
turn of
2021, he was the most over
an amazing
babyface.
face.
2021, he was the most over babyface in AEW, if not all of wrestling.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And this match solidified that Page as a heel for the next couple year or so is going to be so fucking good. Obviously, right now he's suspended in kayfabe. I imagine he'll be back before Double or Nothing. I'd imagine, because I'm very curious what he's going to do. It's obviously going to do something to do with Swerve. At some
He could
point,
do a
so
run in at Dynasty.
very possible, and cost Swerve the match.
Yep. It's possible, yeah.
Because it's probably going to be Swerve and Joe, possibly, which actually would be a kick-ass match.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if he cost Swerve the match, they could have their final blow off, like a lights out match at Double or Nothing.
Think when they're gonna do Wardlow for the title?
Oh, they're doing it on Dynamite.
Oh, are they? Has that been announced?
Yeah, big business. Yeah, Joe versus Wardlow.
Cool. All right. Now I know.
Yeah. Oh, dude, big business is going to be an awesome show.
Yeah.
They're doing Joe versus Wardlow. Obviously, Mercedes is most likely debuting. It's like 99.9% going to happen. And they're doing. Let me see. I need to look up the card again. They're doing Hook and Jericho versus Gates of Agony. Yeah, that's not the one I wanted to mention. They're doing Willow versus Riho. That's another thing. And then they're also doing Darby Allin versus Jay White. That's the other one I wanted to mention. Samoa Joe versus Wardlow. And I think there was one other one. Can't remember. But it's going to be a good show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, like you said, Hangman doing the work of his life right now. Oh yeah, that's the other one. That's the other one. They're doing the new Elite, so Okada and the Young Bucks versus Eddie Kingston, Penta, and Pac. That's the other match they're doing, which should be amazing. But yes, this triple threat match. Let's talk about the match. Joe was awesome, as always. Every time, one thing I love about Samoa Joe is when he hits someone really hard, he like congratulates himself, like he leans in the ropes and goes, "Oh yeah, I liked that. That was fun."
Yeah. This match fucking ruled, and it's just a great standard for triple threat matches.
Yep. I loved it when Joe nearly slipped off the rope and he was like, "Oh no, hold on here. Ugh, not making that mistake again." And then he got dropped. They did like a double powerbomb, Page and Swerve on Joe. I love it in triple threat matches when two guys who are feuding have to team up against the big threat. That's something that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, kind of what the story they told here is that the beef between Hangman and Swerve is too big for either of them to win because they can't neutralize Joe while they're at odds with each other, which was a great story to tell within a triple threat match, I think.
100%.
Yeah. And yeah, Joe was a rabid feral beast. And he's having I never thought that Joe was going to win the AEW World Title. I guess maybe he wasn't ever going to because it was supposed to be CM Punk. But he has filled this role so well. He has been
Very well.
a guy who has taken a spot that was never meant for him, and he's taken it and he's made it amazing.
Definitely. He's really made his own, and yeah, the company in terms of the top talent is in a really good place right now.
Oh yeah, that main event scene in AEW is ridiculous.
Crazy.
Yeah, and not to mention like they don't even have a lot of the top. Like there's all these top guys that are in WWE as well that they don't have, and yet they're still able to fill their main event scene with all this talent. I love the fact that this generation can load up and overflow to the major companies, and there's still leftovers. I loved when Hangman didn't get the 3 count off the buckshot, and he like then he assaulted the referee, which really cemented his like. He's been going really heel, but this match really cemented him as like, yeah, no, this guy is like mega heel. Because he assaulted the referee, he got suspended in kayfabe. But yeah, as I said, Hangman Adam Page losing by submission. Was it submission or pinfall? I can't remember. I think it was submission.
It was by a submission.
Yeah.
Because the whole story post-match was, did Hangman tap out because he needed to, or did he do it so that Swerve wouldn't win?
Yeah, I think for it was something like, if Hangman can't win this match, then Swerve has to lose. Yeah, exactly. That's the way he was thinking through it. Yeah, which perfect. You couldn't have done that story better. Like that is exactly how you should do it.
Absolutely.
And the look on Swerve's face when the match was over, like the tears in his eyes, man, the acting. It was such great drama. And Joe just being like, "Yeah, that's fucking right. I'm still the champion. What did you expect?" Yeah. And if the pay-per-view had ended here, it still would have been an amazing show, but this show was special because it wasn't just about wrestling championships. It wasn't just about, the current roster. It wasn't just about, having AEW showcase their best stars, but it was also about the end of a legendary career. They had Jim Ross on commentary for this main event, as they should. They had Tony Schiavone on commentary, as they should. We had the Tornado tag match, Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks. Oh, I'm actually getting a little bit emotional thinking about this and remembering it.
It's one of the best send-offs to any wrestler in pro wrestling.
Yep. And unlike Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels, I know Sting will hopefully stick to this one.
Yeah, I think he will. He doesn't come across as someone who is looking for that big thrill, even when he is post-retirement. He feels very transparent with the fact that this is it. This is his farewell, and
yeah,
I don't think you're going to be able to top it the way they did it.
Yeah, if we ignore that Saudi Arabia exists, I think this is the best send-off since Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 26.
Yeah.
This was genuinely perfect. It was so good. And so they showed, obviously, a video package of the feud, the way that the Young Bucks have disrespected Sting's family, like with his sons and everything. And obviously his sons got involved in the match, and they dressed up in their dad's old costumes. A Surfer Sting and Wolfpack Sting, which is awesome. They're showing the whole build-up, the thing from Dynamite where Sting comes down from the rafters one last time, just like on Nitro. The Young Bucks heel turn has been a massive success. Their characters are... This is like the best work they've done in years. Genuinely amazing character work. And Darby Allin is one of the best in AEW. I always worry about him like a bit of a helicopter parent. And I'm always concerned for him, especially now that he's going to climb Mount Everest. I really hope he survives. But it's his life. He gets to choose what he wants to do. But yeah, we had our Tornado main event in Greensboro Coliseum in the old NWA WCW arena. For Sting's last match, the Young Bucks now have the Cody Vader in the middle of the entrance ramp. I thought this was genius because they're the
It's the perfect
EVPs.
entrance for them.
Yeah. Before we talk more about that, I should probably mention that Ric Flair was there, Ricky Steamboat was there. So they parts of Sting's past. In the crowd, you also had, Magnum TA, you had Lex Luger, you had I can't remember who were the other people in there. I'd have to look. Oh yeah, Nikita Koloff was there. So people from WCW in the past during Sting's time. Great to see them. Yeah, so that was nice. I think they handled Ric Flair's involvement in the right way. As we said, we were a bit concerned about his involvement, and like you said, the best case scenario was him not being in it. But for what they did do with him, it was very minimal. And by having the Young Bucks super kick him, it gave them a good amount of heat. So we did get something good out of it. And Steamboat's involvement was fucking awesome. He did a fucking arm drag. It was so good. Yeah. But yeah, great to see the legends from Sting's past out there. The EVP Young Bucks came out with their martial arts gear. Very cringe, but in the best way. I love that they've actually like completely ditched all of the Young Bucks, like the theme music, the name, and I like how instead of like money coming out of the shooters, it's now business cards.
Yeah, very, very, very funny.
Yeah, and I loved on Dynamite how they did like a mock of the Tony Khan big announcement. That was hilarious.
So good.
Yeah, corporate ass kisses, and they're also basically, all the things that CM Punk said about them in the big, brawl out rant on the press conference about how they're childish and they're not adults. I love how they're basically saying like, we need to be real adults around here. We need to be responsible. They're like completely taking the piss out of it. Yeah, these guys are. I've always thought the Bucks were better as heels anyway. They're great at being smug pricks. But this is a very different kind of heel to what they were before.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like pretending to act like adults even though they're just massive children.
So good.
Darby Allin's entrance, great as always. You could tell he was pumped for this match. I think for him, this is probably the biggest match outside of the CM Punk match he had at All Out 2021. This is probably his biggest match for his career. So yeah, he came out, and then we got genuinely one of the coolest video packages I think I've ever seen in wrestling. They go to the Plaza Theater, the final showtime. Sting by himself sits in the theater and sees highlights of his career. I was actually getting really like quite internally emotional watching this video package because he's had such a long run. I love the way it was almost like something out of Joker, like where he was seeing himself and he was laughing and he was like, oh yes, that was so good. Kind of like a callback to Joker Sting in a way. All the good memories, the bad memories, the pain, the victories, the championship, the friends he's made. Great Muda, all the companies he's been in, Wembley Stadium, AEW, New Japan, WWE, like this. Well, they didn't show any of that, but you know what I mean. Like they played all of the stuff they had rights to. Thankfully, with AEW being aligned with Turner Network, they have a lot of photos from the WCW days that they own. But yeah, this was such a great video package showing memories of Sting's career from the past, and it really put in perspective like the impact he's had on the business the last like 40 years. And then he said, it's showtime for the final time. Yeah. Yeah, what was your sort of thoughts on this video package they did?
It's very, very fitting, very well produced, and I don't think you can build more anticipation than this. It was, yeah, the production team, big pat on the back. What an amazing job they did.
Yeah, it was cinema. And then we got the entrances. They played Sting's AEW theme. His sons came out. Unfortunately, obviously, they don't own the rights to his old music. Like, they couldn't play his WCW music because WWE own it, and that's okay. We don't need it. But they played Sting's AEW theme. His son came out as Surfer Sting. It was so. At first I genuinely thought it was Sting, and then I saw how young he was, and I was like, oh yeah, that's his son.
Yeah.
Great to see Surfer Sting. Then his other son came out as Wolfpack Sting. It was, for them, that has to be like a moment in their life to dress up as their dad and be there for his last match. And then, of course, Tony Khan shelled out the big bucks and got Seek and Destroy by Metallica, as he should.
Absolutely.
And
Super
Sting came out. You predicted he would wear the singlet. As soon as he came out with the shirt, I'm like, yeah, they're doing hardcore. I was like, I just knew it straight away. I was like, yeah, they're doing a hardcore match, so that he doesn't get his skin pierced. Yeah, this was the ideal entrance for Sting's last match. It has to be.
Absolutely.
And the crowd he was so over in Greensboro. And I love that they reminded you with the graphic 28-0 undefeated in AEW.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest things going to this match. Is Sting going to lose his last match? Or is he going to retire undefeated? And we both predicted the Bucks to win, but they didn't. But they actually made the story work to where Sting winning actually made sense.
Yeah. I did say there was a chance that they do retain and then they vacate, and I think doing a tournament for it is actually the best way to do it if they did do that.
I loved
they have now done that.
I loved Darby's promo on Dynamite where he said, I could try and defend this, but let's be honest, there's no replacing Sting. It made a really good reason for him to vacate it voluntarily. And also the fact that he's going up Mount Everest, he needs to like allow someone else to compete for the title. But yeah, this match was the Sting's retirement match for being 64 years old and for the limits they had. I think they couldn't have done this better, to be honest. I thought they really nailed it. There was probably only one small moment where they slightly botched Sting hitting the glass with the bat because he whacked it and it didn't crack, and then he had to whack it again for it to shatter.
I generally made me jump when they did that.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the only little mistake. But apart from that, yeah, so they beat up Young Bucks. Sting's sons did the Stinger splashes with a Darby Allin and Sting. They all did it together. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, this match was mostly carnage.
Oh, it was fucking crazy, and how a certain wrestler didn't die, I won't know.
Yeah. When the Bucks finally got an advantage over them was when they superplexed them off the stage onto tables, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the genuine concern in the commentator's voice, like, we have to check on Sting. The doctors are going to check on him, see if he can continue. Like, really making you believe, like, oh yeah, no, he could be out at any moment. But yeah, the Bucks regained control. And then they brought an absolutely massive, gigantic ladder into the ring. Like, I think probably the biggest ladder they have on them. I thought the Bucks did an amazing job in this match of telling the story.
Yeah, I agree.
Darby Allin having to go against the odds to try and outpower the Bucks while Sting was out was great. And they brought out a couple of panes of glass in this match. But before we get to the impact, Sting climbed a ladder and he was going to do a dive, but he actually got thrown through it this time as opposed to doing it on his own. But the big, shocking moment in this match was when Nick Jackson, I believe, or maybe it was Matt, I think it was Nick, was he was aligned on a glass pane, sugar glass pane, that was put on steel chairs on the floor. So there was a Dynamite match from 2022 when Darby tried to do a swanton to Jeff Hardy onto the chairs, and Jeff moved and Darby went through the chairs. So this time, those chairs were down there with the ladder there, and there was a pane of glass on it. And Darby went to do a diving swanton onto Nick Jackson. Nick Jackson moved out the way, and Darby Allin went crashing through the glass. This is one of the most bone-chilling things I think I've seen in wrestling. I thought he died. I was like really concerned. I was like, shit, is he still alive? Like the amount of blood that was pouring out his back after that spot, I was like, shit, he could genuinely die from blood loss here. Evidently, he is still alive with only 12 stitches. But yeah, this was possibly the craziest thing Darby Allin's ever done, and he did it in Sting's last match.
Yeah. Definitely not something I would ever do.
Oh, God, no.
I'm not crazy.
I find taking a normal back bump on the mat pretty difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, your what was your thoughts, your sort of reaction to this moment in the match?
I was generally concerned because the man fell off the top of the ladder and crashed through glass, real glass, to, the floor. Yeah, it looked really bad. So yeah, it's very hardcore and it's definitely exciting. Probably just not my thing overall. I'm probably not as harsh on it as some others are, but yeah, it's fucking gnarly, and yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's just fucking crazy. That's all
I
I
mean,
can
it
really
is
say about it.
what they used was, it's called sugar glass. It still really hurts, but the reason why they use that is it bursts into particles. Because if it was window glass, it wouldn't shatter like that, and he would his whole back would just tear open, and he would probably die. That's why CM Punk told Jack Perry, "Don't use real glass, you fucking idiot. You'll die."
Exactly.
Yeah, because the glass from like an actual window is way worse. But sugar glass, it's still glass, and it still will rip you apart, and you could still bleed to death if you don't have a doctor nearby. But yeah, the reason why they use it in wrestling is because of the way it when you impact it, when it breaks into these tiny little pieces, and that means that it can kind of clear out the way so it doesn't go deep into your like organs or your muscle. But what it did do is it poked a billion holes in his back, and they had to stitch him up. One of his shoulders looked like fucking hamburger meat because he hit the chair really hard. But yeah, it was shocking. And that meant that Sting had to fend for himself against the Young Bucks. Sting also went through glass, but he was thankfully protected by his shirt to some extent. And his pants. Some of that glass went into the crowd, which is a bit scary. But the Young Bucks threw every dirty trick in the game at Sting. They even went for the low blow and the Scorpion Death Drop. Sting kicks out. They went for the double super kick. They did WrestleMania 24, but instead of "I'm sorry, I love you," they did "We're not sorry, we hate you," and Sting no-sold it. It was brilliant. I genuinely was like on the edge of my seat during that. So much fun. Nick Jackson tried to steal the belt to hit Sting with it, and Ricky Steamboat stopped him and did a hit on him and got whacked. And they kicked Ric Flair, trying to stop them from abusing Sting. Ric Flair was very purple in the face. I'm glad that he was out of that match very quickly. I do like the way the commentator said, hey, this guy is a 70-year-old man, like that actually selling like what they're doing for real. They hit them with the belt, Sting still kicks out. And they go for, yeah, as I said, they went for that we're not sorry, we hate you super kick. Sting no sold it, which got an absolutely huge pop. Yeah, Sting with the pin, Nick goes for it. He interrupts the pin. And they almost hit the referee, but they thought against it because of the EVPs. They said, "Hey, we're not going to get suspended because we're in charge." I loved it how it was just like they very sarcastically, like, they held Sting's hand, they shook his hand and said, "Thank you so much for your career," and they went for the EVP trigger instead of the BTE trigger. They've rechristened the name. They also went for the newly patented Tony Khan driver, or the TK driver as they call it. So instead of the Meltzer driver, it's now the Tony Khan driver, because they're kissing the ass of the boss. And Darby Allin pushed Nick Jackson through a table, which saved Sting. Sting hit the Scorpion Death Drop, another kick out. Darby Allin went for the coffin drop. Sting got Matt Jackson in the Scorpion Deathlock, and Matt Jackson tapped out. And the match was over, and you could see the emotion on Sting's face as soon as the match ended. You could see him being like, "Holy shit, that's it. I made it to the end." And yeah, what an ending. And that moment when Justin Roberts said "and still," and everyone like popped when he said "and still champions." Yeah. What a main event. What a retirement match. I was blown away.
Crazy match.
Yeah, they did the confetti and everything. I just love seeing Sting. He looked like the happiest person alive after he did that match. He just felt like, wow, what a career. And yeah, then he cut a promo after the match that went into overtime, and the whole locker room came out to congratulate him. And yeah, that was Revolution 2024. Your closing thoughts on the main event and the show as a whole?
Awesome show, start to finish. Amazing matches, crazy bumps, and I think a perfect farewell to one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, one of the most irresistibly lovable wrestlers. The most natural baby faces there's ever been, I think.
Absolutely.
At 64 years old, man. He had this match at 64.
Crazy.
Yeah, there were genuinely grown men in the crowd crying at this ending with Sting's promo. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't have much more. I'm speechless. I don't have much more to say. I was blown away by this show.
Just an awesome show.
Yeah, top to bottom. Yeah, if I was to give it a rating, I'd probably say maybe a 9.5 out of 10. I think that sounds right to me. Very like pretty damn close to perfect.
Very, very close.
Yeah. And yeah, end of broadcast. Great Dynamite after. Collision was really cool. Next Dynamite should be amazing with Mercedes coming in. Oh, man, AEW's kind of back. They're back on their peak form again, seemingly. Hopefully that lasts. Yeah. And you are still the champion.
Let's go.
So yeah,
Yeah.
great show. And next up, we'll eventually at some point when I get around to it, there will be the second installment of EWAP. Because the first one went so well, we did another one. We're gonna hopefully continue doing them. But in terms of the pay-per-views, the PLEs, the next one we have is WrestleMania 40.
Big show.
Yep. We'll do predictions for both nights after the Go Home Raw. I think it will be ideal, which will be in a few weeks' time. And then we'll do a massive stream where we review both nights all in one video. And yeah, exciting. It's exciting to be a wrestling fan right now.
April's looking to be a very big month.
Yep. Yeah, well, you've got WrestleMania and you've got Dynasty with Ospreay versus Danielson, and you'd assume Mercedes will be on that card, and a bunch of other great matches. So yeah.
Yeah.
God damn. Yeah. Awesome stuff. So, anything else you want to add before we close out this stream?
What a great show. Well, absolutely delivered. Absolutely awesome. Awesome show.
Yep. Yep, and I hope Sting enjoys his retirement.
Absolutely.
Right, well, I bid you adieu, a good night, and a goodbye.